We are live. Let's get Instagram rolling. Hey, folks. Sorry, we are a few minutes late. Let's get other streaming platforms connected and going. My dear, how is your Monday? It's Monday, let me tell you.
It it was Monday. Yeah, it was. I worked, so I was busy. Didn't come up for much air. I did take my lunch, and I have a place where I can get hold of um, actually homemade yogurt.
Mm.
And so I went and bought that at lunch. But before we get into all that, I want to say hi to everyone. Hi on YouTube. Hi to Twitch, and hi to our 3 Facebook pages and our 2 Instagram pages and Rumble and, of course, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. Absolutely. And for anyone that is joining us, because I see you over here on YouTube and see you on Instagram. So welcome to everyone that is joining. Tonight, we're just doing a live Q&A. If you've seen our posts earlier, we had asked for questions from our followers and our viewers. So if you have a question, drop a comment in the chat on Instagrams, or if you're over here on YouTube, put it in the chat and we will get them answered live. But yeah, how is everything? Welcome, welcome. How's
So, how was
everything
your Monday?
else?
I was going to say, how's your Monday going?
It's a Monday. It's a Monday. I will say that. No, it hasn't been 2 days. Too bad. 2 days, 2 something. Anyway, spent some time, in the BNC community with those fine folks over my lunch break. So did that. Just had a social, and then we had a meeting, and yeah, and then I'll be joining them. I kind of start my lunch break with them and end my day with them. What can I say? But no, it was cooler here this morning. It was about 30 degrees when I got up this morning. So a little bit on the chilly side. I think we're supposed to get down in like the mid 20s for tonight, but uh, overall the day wasn't too bad.
Well, yeah, we were in the high 90s this weekend, and I think our high today was 86. So uh, fall just isn't happening here in Texas.
Well, I was just say, yeah, it's supposed to be 30, 20s, 30s in the morning, and then I think our high is only in the 50s for tomorrow, so it's going to be a little cooler.
Wow. So,
But
what do you do on this cooler days, Becky, in the mornings?
I do my same thing, and that was kind of one of the questions too. Why is it important to expose yourself to these cooler temperatures as the seasons are changing? Because a few days ago, I put up a reel in regards of seasons are changing. Are you changing with it? And so that posed a couple questions for tonight in regards of the cold and the cooler temps. So the reason why we end up when we change with the seasons and what I do, because obviously I'll speak from my experiences, I still go out there. I'm still out there barefoot. Most of the time I get the cold exposure with tank top. Today, I mean, I'm sitting here inside with the sweater on, but I took my sweater off and just had my t-shirt and went outside and exposed myself to the cold, because the body runs on a circadian, right? A 24-hour system, but it also runs on an infradian system. So our bodies know the difference of the seasons because we have different receptors in the body. So by exposing yourself to the cold, to the heat, I use it as, nature's free cold exposure, right? I'm out there all winter long. Get my seasons right here. That tells you how long of a day that's been, right? But I still go out, do my daily practice. I mean, I'm still out there grounding, seeing sunrise, all of that. Now, someone also asked, so I'm going to lump like 3 questions into one of how long do I go out there? And that depends on the day. I mean, if it's, 30 below, obviously I'm not going to spend 15 minutes out there because I'll end up with hypothermia, right? So
Yeah.
it depends on the seasons or on the temperature. But normally when I go out and I do my cold exposure and all of that, when it is that cold, I do find that still like walking down my driveway. So for those that don't know, my driveway kind of looks like a J, if you will. I mean, I can make the full loop around because of the road, but my driveway is like a J. So it connects from one road, comes around my property to the other road. And so I will typically like walk that a couple times and get cold exposure. The thing with grounding is it's instantaneous. So as soon as a bodily surface, it can be hands, it can be feet, it can be arm, it doesn't matter, right? Once that hits something, right? The ground, a tree, a bush, something that is rooted, you're grounded. Now, there are other surfaces that can ground. You don't necessarily know the conductivity aspect, such as like sidewalks, bricks, those type of things, unless you truly test it. But most of your surfaces, if they are unsealed, so things like even a garage floor, your pavers, sidewalks, those type of things, asphalt typically does not. Although we did have a person down in the South, a client that she had a meter and she tested, and sure enough, she was grounded when she walked on her asphalt road. So that just goes to show that you need to test, not guess, basically. But yeah, I'm still outside, still doing that, still get my circadian rhythm, eyes, skin, receptors, overall health. But yeah. So that's kind of what I do. I know, like you said, you're a little bit different, being, further south than I am. So your routine probably looks a little bit different because you don't have the snow.
No, no, that's very true. No, not in the. But I did spend a lot of time outside this weekend, getting a lot of vitamin D, and wasn't feeling the greatest, and I knew that was some good benefit to that. Had my feet on the actual ground in the sun, and so and I'm feeling so much better today from when I did that this weekend. But I think that's the interesting thing about doing the grounding, the earthing, and getting the natural vitamin D, seeing the sunrise, seeing the sunset, all the things. We really are electrical. I mean, we have electrical impulses in our bodies, and it is very healing. Both of us have had to look to the circadian rhythm and to continue healing our bodies. And I think people don't really resonate. We're stuck inside, right? We're stuck inside all the time, in an office, or in my case, I'm in my camper the whole day working. Try to go out, but certain projects that I do, it's just not possible for me to even take 5 minutes like I used to on other projects to go out, especially when I'm doing the training and stuff. So, but the breaks, you try to feed them in and get, I drove like I said, into town to get the yogurt today, and I had the window cracked. So I was still getting that natural light in my eye while I was driving. So yeah, just it's an interesting, yeah.
And I think that's what's really important, because I've had the busy people. I've had, clients that will come to me and they're like, I'm in the office by, 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, or I work, in a hospital. And so I'm inside before the sun even rises. Well, you can still go out and do grounding. doesn't have to, the sun doesn't necessarily have to be up in order to do the grounding. So you can still get outside early in the morning, recharge the body. That's the biggest thing, especially for people that are on electronics and on the computer all day. You have to end up and be able to recharge the body, because a lot of inflammation, a lot of swelling, a lot of water retention also happens because our bodies are so depleted that we're, being exposed to the computers, we're being exposed to blue lights, being inside. So by getting out and kind of getting that natural charge, it can be dark. We've had a couple where, when they're eating within that 30 to 60 minutes of being up, they're up at like 5:30. Well, during the winter time, the sun doesn't come up that early, right? So they're literally sitting outside and they're doing their grounding, they're eating because they have to go into work. So in order to, help with the hormones and help with the aspect of calming that cortisol, I mean, yes, sunrise is important because it contributes to, so many other factors of our body, from one, the pregnenolone, right? Which we've kind of talked about that in relationship to the hormones. You talked about making vitamin D. Well, if we look at kind of the hormonal cascade and how this happens, when we look to, cholesterol making pregnenolone, you have to be able to have the production so that you can make the rest of these hormones. Again, that cellular water aspect. If you're going to be on electronics, being able to get outside, ground, but also, seeing sunrise. And that can just be cracking a window or 5 minutes, right? So that's where kind of adjusting your rhythm and some of these practices of what's going to work into a busy person's schedule.
Right.
If you don't have, the time to go out and do the grounding, at sunrise, because right now sunrise is like 7:30-ish.
Yeah.
So, it's a little bit off. And for anyone, I'm going to end up and give a plug for the other app that we're using, or that I'm using, the My Circadian app. So if you're iPhone or Android, both of the apps are released. You can use Becky In and get, Apple users can get a month free with that code, and Android can get 3 weeks free. Just go to either the App Store or Google Play. You can also find it on mycircadianapp.com as well, and download it from there. But that will tell you, what time your sun is rising, what time your vitamin D, all of that. And one of the other questions later, it will come back to the app in relationship to that. But the sunrise, like I said, it does help with your sleep at night. It helps with setting your circadian rhythm. It helps with that pregnenolone, the HPA, HPG axis or axes. It helps with all of that. So the different times of the day are beneficial to get, but if you can at least get a few minutes of grounding before you go log into the computer.
Yeah, and I had picked up, so I have this setting next to me. This is the grounding wire that I actually, when I can't get out there, I am plugged into this. I have it. It is into a grounded outlet, and I literally wear this when I'm sitting here working, and that way I'm still getting some benefit from that. So it is possible. There are tools out there to use. This is from what, Earthing.
Earthing.com, yeah.
Yeah.
Earthing.com is where I got most of my grounding stuff. Now I notice a difference with my grounding. Like I got one, a pad underneath my feet. I've also got like a pillowcase on my bed, a mat on my bed. Now, like I said, I've noticed a difference. I know there are other people that have lived in populated areas that have used indoor grounding, you're pretty rural out there. I mean, you don't have a lot of people around you, but a friend of mine, she had some, and she's very in a very populated area outside of Atlanta, and she actually felt worse using hers. She got hers, I don't remember if it was earthing.com or there's a couple other websites like Intuition Physician has some grounding stuff. There's a few websites, and like I said, she plugged in and she felt worse. So just be mindful of that. That if you are in a heavily populated area, nature's always going to be best.
Correct. But if you're stuck in front of that computer all day, it's
It
definitely
helps.
it does. It's my next choice. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'll train for 2-hour classes and it's on me. I'm attached. So I know I'm getting the benefits, which is really nice. But yeah. So did you have any other questions?
Yeah, let me get back to them.
Okay.
What are some simple, small changes I can start with to make healthy eating more manageable for me and my family? That is probably one of the biggest things that, at least I get, whether it be on my social media or whether it be in client settings, is family, right? Eating different or eating together. And because there are times where I, strictly meat based, right? And my kids don't necessarily need to be 100% animal only, right? Um and so that's where I will still allow, like, for instance, last night we had made some french fries. Well, I mean, we use, good oil, right? And I cut up the potatoes. We had gone out and picked potatoes. So I had 2 5-gallon buckets of potatoes. I made homemade french fries for them. Well, I'll make baked potatoes, roasted vegetables, so things like squash, winter squashes. I'll cut up and roast. My brother had given me some tomatoes, so I put the squash and the tomatoes and just roasted those off for family. I'll do that for meal prep too. Tonight I made a meatloaf. Um, and I'm not against grains, so we also had rice, or they had rice. Things like that. The main focus of the meal is the protein source, right? We go through every week, and I will. We go through every week, and what I do is I simply print off an easy form on my computer, and I go through and I list the evening meals. But then what I do is I print off our material and our journals, and then I will go through and make my list. So, like, for instance, I cooked up some chicken for my lunches, and I'm fine with just sitting down and eating a bowl of meat. So I had stop and think. I had chicken and sourdough for my lunch. So that's the other easy thing for the busy person, right? Is batch cook.
Yes.
I mean, I can't say it enough. There's still some meatloaf left, so tomorrow I can have meatloaf for lunch, or I can have chicken. I'll use the chicken, and my daughter likes a chicken bacon wrap. The Egg Life wraps make a good wrap, and she'll take that for her school lunch. So things like that make it really easy, really simple to do. We made ribs. Of course, we had ribs and potatoes. And then I had leftover ribs later in the week, ground beef. 2 weeks ago, I thawed out 6 pounds of ground pork and I made it into sausage, cooked it up. It's in the freezer, pull a couple of them out, quick, easy breakfast. So it's things like that it doesn't have to be complicated. It just you have to do a little bit of planning.
Right.
And that is how I would say I keep it manageable. My phone's saying there's a freeze warning.
Whoa.
That's how I know. Squirrel. But that's how I keep it manageable for me and for my family. Plan ahead, do your grocery shopping on the weekend. If you're someone that goes during the week, day off during the week, then plan accordingly and figure that out. It changes with the seasons.
Mhm.
So summertime, my daughter and I did a lot of salads, cucumbers. She will take pickles with her. So right now she's doing the wraps, and then she'll take pickles with her to school. Yogurt, because I do a long ferment yogurt. So most mornings I'll have either bacon or sausage with some yogurt. Yeah, I mean, I know you cooked pork chops for supper tonight. How do you keep it manageable?
Same thing. We did that on the grill tonight. So the package I had was 4 probably medium sized pork chops, and then we had 2 packages that a friend of ours had given us, some buffalo sausage. It's 2 different types. I went in and thawed those out today. So there was 3 of each. So we got 6 of those. We've put it all on the grill. So we have that tonight, and then we'll have that again tomorrow night because we made so much. And there's probably extra even. We probably won't go through all of it. The pork chops we will, but there'll still be leftover sausage that we can eat. And so, yeah, I always try whatever it is. If I'm going to make it, like the meatloaf, I make enough where we can have them 2 nights, or I will grill enough burgers that we can have several nights. And I'm always thinking that way. This weekend we went and got some barbecue, or some smoked meat. It is really what it is. Well, for breakfast this morning, I took some of the brisket and shredded it into my eggs, and that's what I had for breakfast this morning. For my middle meal, like I said, I went and got the yogurt like you make. I added some dill, and I sliced up some locally sourced summer sausage that and I want to have him on our podcast. But he has really searched out the seasoning packets, so it's not full of sugar and stuff. It's actually very good. I would like to get some more of that. So things like that. I mean, it's just all about, we're going to make steak on the grill. We're going to make enough to have 2 nights. So I always know at least several, and I plan it out like you. I know we've got the pork chops and the sausage, the buffalo sausage, and then I don't know what else I was going to make. I was going to make my taco pie, which I owe you the recipe. And, and it's shockingly easy to make this taco pie because you actually use the taco seasoning, which I have got some taco seasoning from Amish country when I was in Indiana this summer. And so I use that for the seasoning. And then you use, I believe it's 6 eggs and a 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. And that's the binder to it. And then you can put a little cheese on top and you bake it. And that's something that has been slowly worked on in the BNC community, is putting together a little cookbook that we're trying to just get some ideas on what you do. But if I make that, and that's a pound of ground beef, that will feed us 2 nights. And so, again, it's always about having that second meal ready to go. I have shredded chicken in the freezer that we can pull it out and use them for the wraps, like you said. with the Egg Life wraps, or we even like the Primal Kitchen buffalo sauce, and we'll just make a bowl. We'll put shredded chicken and put some of that buffalo sauce on it, and it's like going and having wings, buffalo wings. So that's always in the freezer, ready to go. So I'm always, especially when I wasn't living in our travel trailer, I prepped a whole lot more. We always had smoked bacon ready to go. We always had that, I think you do too. You buy ground beef or cow, right? Packages of local cow. And so those are always in the freezer ready to go. And you don't necessarily have to do that. I mean, when meat goes on sale, stock up on it. If we're going to smoke brisket, we're going to make enough that I can freeze brisket and it'll be easy to pull out and have. So, and trying to keep things as whole food as possible, especially when your family doesn't eat like you eat, would be another tip that I would give.
Well, and I think you nailed it on the head of if you can't find source local for your meat, watch your sales. I mean, we do that too, because even though we get, right now we've been getting half a beef instead of, a full beef because we don't have the kids at home anymore like we did. And so a half a beef will usually last us. Now we do have a lot of roast left. There's still a little bit of hamburger out there, but one of the things that goes the quickest is the steaks, right? You just don't get many steaks. And so our grocery store had a mega meat sale a couple weeks ago, the big primal loins, right? And they were on sale. We got a prime rib one, we got a New York strip one, and we got a pork loin also, because the pork loin was like $1.39 or something like that. I mean, very inexpensive. And we cut the pork loin up, but we wet aged the other two. And so we just cut those up Friday night. And ultimately it rendered 27 chops. No, let me start at the beginning. 23 ribeyes, 26 strips, and 27 chops. So, for fairly inexpensive, I mean, a lot cheaper than, if we were to go and buy a package of steaks. So that's the other thing. For me, I try to get the best quality 90% of the time. Right? The other 10%, if I have to source it from a grocery store, because I'm still going to prioritize that animal-based protein. That is like the foundation of the meal. Whatever else gets added into the meal from there. So,
well, and you said something interesting. You just said prioritizing the protein, the meat, right? Mm-hmm. And I know I have a friend of mine that she's had gastric bypass surgery. And one of the things they teach is protein first.
Yep.
I know that some of the GLP-1s that people take, you eat protein, like you eat protein, you need protein. And so that's pushed. So just based off of those two things alone is really interesting that it's always protein first. And, and we've gone out to eat and stuff, and my husband will eat his protein and then he'll eat a carb, but he ate his protein first. So there's ways to stack it. And I'm not saying, run out and eat a whole bunch of carbs, but you can do that. And that's part of what the whole, when you eat gastric bypass, eat your meat first and then, or your protein, and then, whatever vegetable or carb or whatever, then you stack that. So just real interesting that our bodies are really made for protein.
Well, and it's our main building block, right? So we need those amino acids. They are essential to end up and get in. Anywhere from, muscle to hair, skin, and nails. It ends up and needs proteins. So making sure that you're getting that in, and that is the biggest thing, which kind of leads into the next question, right? I've tried so many different diets before and failed. How is this approach different? Because it's a lifestyle. I'm not saying that, everyone has to be animal only. Some people can do seasonal, but looking at it from a whole food lifestyle aspect instead of the middle aisles of the grocery store, right? So when you look at it from that aspect, it's not what I'm going to end up and do for the next 30 days. It's not what I'm going to do for the next 90 days. It's, 28 days or whatever the case may be. Right. And it's one of those, again, we've referenced it multiple times on our videos, good, better, best. If you can afford the grass-fed, grass finished, by all means, enjoy it. But if you can't, don't feel like, oh, I can't do this type of a lifestyle because I can't afford that. Go to the grocery store and get yourself a steak or get yourself ground beef and, pair it with something if you want. If not, this time of year, I'll also add fermented like cabbage, kimchi. Like I said, my daughter does her pickles. So, that type of thing. Don't look at it as a traditional diet plan, which was so interesting because we were talking on the BNC social earlier today about different diets and different plans and things that we had done. We had come, excuse me, one of the other members and I had come across a different diet by an influencer. And it had this whole, which, oh my gosh, it's horrible to now look back on it. But it had, a protocol that you did. And to know now, if I would have known then what I know now, absolutely not. But yeah, it was just to look back on that and think, oh my gosh, we both had done that for two different reasons, but it was essentially the same thing. And yeah, it was crazy to think about, the different quote diets, right? That we've done. I share that a lot throughout my story because I was constantly trying something, right? Weight Watchers or shakes or, heck, I made lifetime member and worked for the Weight Watcher company when we did it local. So, it's just not to look at it as a diet because that also sets yourself up for, well, I can't, being very meticulous and getting yourself into that trap of a mindset because, well, I can't have that, or I shouldn't eat this, or, this has X, Y, and Z, so it's not part of this. And that's where many people get stuck and struggle is because then they're, they're either too meticulous or they end up and they have something and then, it's all caution's gone to the wind because, well, I've already messed up, so what's it going to end up and matter? Or they're too meticulous. There's so much, it's a fine line on eating disorders because you can also get into the realm of being to the point where you restrict yourself so much, and I'm trying not to offend the eating disorder community. You restrict yourself so much that then you end up and you binge, but then you end up and either purge or you restrict, right? So you then end up and you eat, or then you punish yourself and you don't eat, or you purge it, right? So there's a lot of that changing it from a diet to a lifestyle gets away from that mentality.
Yeah, and I know you even went so far as you stopped tracking.
Mm-hmm.
You removed, the scales out of your house, like, you because it was becoming so. You track for how long, Becky?
I signed up for MyFitnessPal in 2007. That is the first that I had signed up with MyFitnessPal. So I was logging food, and then I looked at it a little bit different. So 2007, 2019, I would say 2018, I got in depth into the tracking even more. I mean, that was when I started. I mean, I did keto between, I guess, something in Weight Watchers closed in 2008. So 2009, I was doing Whole Foods keto, and then it kind of transitioned. But so that would have been the first time that I was using a glucose meter to check. Of course, CGMs weren't available to, non-diabetics at that point. Even though I was pre-diabetic, it was still not available. But then, all those data tracking things hit the market. And I mean, we have the Oura Ring, we have the Whoop, we've got watches, we've got, I mean, anything and everything, CGMs that, public can now end up and get. And well, now they've even come out where you don't even need a script for it, right? So all of that, and I actually even gave up my watch. So you can see it was the recent thing to go, was my watch, because I still have my little suntan, hard to see in the red, but you can tell how dedicated I was to being outside, right? But I gave up my watch. I gave up my Oura Ring. I still have them, right? It's not that I threw them away, but I was so meticulous. And sure, it worked as a coaching tool, right? I could say, this is where it's beneficial. But once you get to a point where you've kind of optimized these areas, do you still need to be meticulous, or is that just an added thing? But the other thing is watching your younger generations. They're picking up on that. So being mindful of what you are doing, from, weighing your food, tracking your food, not eating certain food, without education behind why I'm choosing not to eat it, or just simply not having it in my house, down to the other areas, and making sure that you're not influencing any of those younger generations to kind of propel the same path is huge, because we have so much, one, in our society, of body dysmorphia, but we also end up and have a mentality of what social media is portrayed a person to look like. And I do have to give a shout out to one of my local physicians. Many people know her off of social media as Dr. Jamie Seaman, because she put a post out maybe a week or so ago, kind of in that same realm of gaining weight back. So her post was in regards of like gaining 25 pounds back. So there's a difference when we are, doing things as far as being fit, being, stage prep, but that's not the reality for many people. And so being that lean is not necessarily healthy. And that was her basic concept of her post was, look, you don't have to be, skin and bones and have a, defined six-pack abs, because that's not necessarily healthy either. You need to make sure
Right.
that you are not just prioritizing the aesthetics or what social media portrays as health, right? Especially in women, you have to be able to prioritize health and function, and that's the biggest thing when it comes to, like I said, women's health specific, is the fat tissue for hormones, reproduction, which I think kind of leads into a question of yours in regards of the
Yes.
reproduction non-cycling.
Yeah. I on social media said, ask questions. So I did get a question. It says, is there any time that a non-cycling woman should not do castor oil packs? And I thought that was a great question, because castor oil is very it's very good. There's a lot of health benefits to it. I would say the big thing that, obviously, if you're pregnant and you're nursing, absolutely you do not want to use castor oil packs at all. If you have like an open rash or open wound or something like that, you absolutely don't. But there, you definitely, it has a lot of benefits, and especially around a non-cycling woman. So you and I've talked before about a moon cycle when you're non-cycling, and because there are things happening with your hormones, it just goes with the moon cycle. I think, isn't that when we figured out a couple of years ago that I was um, uh, mine was around the new moon, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we noticed a change. Actually, it was my husband that noticed it, which is funny enough because he made a comment one time, like, I swear you're still cycling. And then we started looking at it a little closer, and it was always happening around the new moon, which was interesting. It's all get out because I'm full menopause. But it does help reduce inflammation and pain. Um, we definitely have that issue with menopause. Increases circulation, promotes detox. I think the benefits outweigh it, but I would say um, around the moon cycle would benefit the non-cycling woman. What would you say, Becky?
Yeah, absolutely. The moon is going to be important or key factor here.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing I would end up and caution is not to do it if you start to notice any form of issues, right?
Correct.
If you
Yes.
notice that your sleep is off, or you notice that your body is detoxing too much,
Right.
if you start, anything along those lines is when I would not do a castor oil pack.
Right. Surprisingly, I use castor oil on my face. I have very bad dry skin in this T zone area, and I put castor oil on it. And I've been doing that for, gosh, quite some time. I was using beef tallow also. But I find that the castor oil seems to do a little bit better for this dry area and it seems to be right through here and here. And I definitely, you can use it in your hair. I mean, there's just so many benefits about castor oil, but I think the key is and a reputable castor oil, right? I exclusively use Queen of Thrones, and I have no affiliation with her at all. But I know that where she sources her castor oil, and It's very clean. So hopefully we answered that question.
Yeah, if not, we'll be doing Q&As in the future. So anyone that is still hanging out here watching, feel free to put your questions in the chat. But yeah, as far as I do it more, you can even do castor oil around like saunas, just to kind of help pull some of that out. I've known people that will put like the castor oil and then a hot pad or a heating pad on top of it to kind of drive that castor oil in. So yeah, like I said, I would say I do it more in the winter than what I do in the summer, when it's more like the rest, repair, restore, that type of thing. So for me, it's more of a winter type thing than it is summer. Obviously, you have the heat of summer to kind of help with, the detox, which is what we look at to the castor oil for. But yeah, there's a lot of benefits to castor oil too.
Most definitely. Yeah, I mean, and when I do wear my castor oil packs, I do it during the day. I don't do it in,
Don't
I,
like that slippery mess in bed,
yeah,
and then you
in
have
bed.
it all over sheets and
Yeah. So I literally will do it during the day and then take a shower and wash it off. So yeah. But yeah, that's just, I thought that was a really good question actually about, and it does help menopausal symptoms, right? The cramps and the different the toll that it just takes on the body. It's I especially in menopause, which I have found out in menopause and through how I was eating, and it kind of exasperated my hormones and thyroid tanking. So I'm in the middle of working on that, getting my hormones and my thyroid optimized in the middle of menopause. And it is possible. There are definite protocols you can do. And if you follow me on my Instagram, I'm kind of documenting that journey right now because I have a feeling that I'm not the only one that this has happened to.
Yep.
Yeah. So do you have any more questions or?
I don't. I was just looking over on Instagram to see if they had any. They don't have any. Anyone that is watching over here on YouTube or on Twitch, if you got questions. I don't see any.
I
guess they're quiet tonight.
Oh, it is Monday.
That it is. So I just want to remind everyone to like the channel, go back, watch. We've done several interviews with various speakers on various topics. So definitely check those out. There's a lot of content on the channel as well. So you and I both put videos up in regards of, kind of our day-to-day. Like I said, we've got several interviews with VIPs. We've also got interviews with success stories. So people that have done various approach or companies. I know we've got different companies. None of them are just companies willy-nilly. They're all companies that we've either spoke to the owner, product that we end up we use in our everyday life. So they are, vetted by us, companies, reputable companies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Check that content out.
Yep. So we really do appreciate you guys showing up every Monday evening when we go live. We want to thank you for that. It means a lot to us because our passion is to help and help you heal your whole body. And we're just two everyday women from different walks of life that it has worked for us. It is working for us. I'm still in the middle of my journey. We both do coaching, one-on-one coaching. And so you can find all that information out if you follow us on social media. And of course, you can always find us in the BNC community as well.
Absolutely. So look forward to seeing you there. I've got a meeting over there following this, so feel free to join us at any point.
All right. Well, have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone. And like I said, like and subscribe so you know when we bring guests on, and also when we